What's going on, YouTube? We are back with another top 5 video. I know you guys already watched the last one. You probably watched the one before that. You probably watched the tier list. You probably watched yesterday's YouTube video. You're probably on my Twitch stream. So because of that, hit the subscribe button. 200K. We're pushing for it. Let's get it. Let's go. We're going to jump into it. Top 5 mids today. Working our way from number 5 down to number 1. And that's where we're going to go. That's where we're at. Morgan, number 5 on the list is Morgan. You see her a lot right now because of her pressure. Simple as that. Her 2, her auto attacks, shit ton of pressure. She's very annoying with a lot of the items in the game. She's able to put out pressure with just her normal kit. She's able to have crazy team fights. She's able to ult into whoever she wants. So when there's strong gods on the other team or on your team, you can have 2 of them, which is pretty sick. So that's kind of what you're doing on Morgan. The build is simple. You're going to go ahead and start out with Thoth. You're not going to go starter item. So you go rank 2, book a Thoth, and then you'll finish the Thoth. You will pick up some Bootarinos, which is going to be some pen Bootarinos. These can be CDR boots, but if you go CDR boots, it'll change the rest of the build a little bit. So we're not going to go into that. This is my favorite build. Book a Thoth, Shoes of the Magi. You're going into Bumba's Mask. It is different now, so you have a little bit less CDR. You don't have 20%, you have 10%. Which is kind of sucks. You know, it's not the best. It's still insanely good on a lot of gods like Morgan and some other ones that are coming up, but it's not as crazy as it was. So just remember that when you're getting it. At this point, you only have 10% CDR, but you are very, very fast. You're able to get off your kit. You're able to move around in stealth, and people just don't know where you are or what you're doing. So next up, I like to go Spirit of Desolation. This is going to go ahead and give you more CDR. So you'll be at 20%. You get some pen and you get some power, some more pen. So right now you're doing a shit ton of damage, even with the minus 10%. And you're really fast and you have 20% CDR. Super good, super solid build. And then next up, I like to pick up Poly, and because of this, you're able to do more burst damage. You're able to one-shot somebody, essentially with your combo. At this point, you're probably not gonna be one-shotting, but you're gonna be super chunking. Then you're gonna be able to ult and turn into a tank if they're switching to you, or you're gonna be able to go onto a carry target. If you have a Circuit on your team, Hunbats on your team, good team fighting, fucking dumpster damage type gods will be perfect in that situation. Then last item, if you need more penetration, if you're going on the tanks, or they're just building defense, you're picking up an Ob Shard. If they really have no magic defense, you are picking up a Soul Reaver, and this just kind of leads into your kit burst rather than your ult. And then you have one more option. So my whole builds aren't going to change. This last item changes. Your last option is finishing out that CDR, capping out, and getting 40%. This will be nice for continued team fights. If your team is team fighting a lot, this is your build. If you're just dumpstering team fights and you're not even needing to ult, the Soul Reaver is going to be your build, or the Ob Shard is going to be your build. And that's kind of what you're looking at. There's your build on Morgan. The reason she's played is for pressure early, and because she can be any strong god on the map, and she also does a lot of damage. She's also really fun in rank games because you're able to move around so quickly and pick people off on your own that you can take it a long way, and you can actually use that alone to win games. Next up on the list for me is Reijin. Not quite the same pressure as Morgan, but has a lot of pressure, has a lot of poke, has the range you need, and has good team fight. Like, all of that leads into the same thing. Once again, oops, I did not mean to click on starter. Once again, we're going to start Book of Thoth, and we are going to finish that bitch. We are then going to go Pen Boots. We are then going to grab ourselves a Spear of the Magus. Essentially with this build, you're just doing a shit ton of damage. You don't have a lot of survivability early, so you need to position right. Don't waste your shit. Do some damage. Gem of Iso is going to be next up on the list. With this, you have insane control with your 2-1 combo. You have an immense amount of slow, a lot of damage. You are fucking people up. I like to pick up Book of the Dead because, like I said, you aren't really safe at all with this build at this point. So get a little bit of, I don't want to say hybrid, but some sustain in terms of taking damage and still living. And then last item, I'm going to pick up an Ob Shard, and this is just going to be for optimal frontline killing. You need to be able to kill the tanks. If your team is diving, or they don't have tanks, they don't have magic defense targets for you to target, don't grab the Ob Shard. Grab yourself a Soul Reaver, and you're good to go. Reijin matchups are just going to be about pushing the lane and rotating and being part of team fights, fighting in that 3v3, 2v2 mid, over mid camps, over jungle buffs, invading where you can, and just pushing your lead where you can. Poke as often as possible in the mid lane without putting yourself in a position to be poked. So if they have gods that can't really return damage, you're going to be looking at Reijin. Next up on our list is going to be Vulcan, number 3. Vulcan has a lot of damage, has pretty good clear in terms of like pressure clear early, has a lot of ranged, lacks in safety because doesn't have mobility, but your build kind of makes up for that. You're going Book of Thoth again, Book of Thoth Rush. You'll start Book 2 and then you'll finish it. You're then going Penetration Boots. You are then grabbing yourself the Bumba's Mask, just like Morrigan. This is pretty core on Vulcan because of the movement speed. Vulcan has no real movement ability. You have you push yourself back on your 1. It's on a short cooldown, so having CDR makes it so you can do it more often. Dope. The movement speed allows you to rotate around and be safe. You're not super safe. You're not a safe god, but compared to where you're at without Bumbas, where you're just a sitting duck, you can actually get around a lot with your passive and Bumbas up. It's just insane. The two synergizing together, pretty gross. You're really fast. You're able to rotate around. You're able to hit your abilities easier because you can get in range faster. It just works out in the long run. You're picking up Obshard here to round out your penetration. You are then going to go ahead and look at a Book of the Dead to have some survivability. And then you're going to finish the build with a Soul Reaver. This can be a Rod of Tahuti if you want it because your combos are going to fuck bitches up. Getting your 1 off on somebody who's below fucking 50% is just going to chunk them. It'll be insane. But you also have 4 damaging abilities. I'm not sure if the 2 proc Soul Reaver. I'm guessing not. But your 1, your 3, and your alt can all proc it. And they're on such short cooldowns. You're able to hit them more often and do more. So Soul Reaver goes a long way. Recommend this build highly. Vulcan, once again, positioning. You don't want to play this god into shit that's just going to hard dive you. If your team has no peel, then it's not going to be great. If your team is diving and they don't have dive, the other team doesn't have anything that's going to be diving you, great. You're going to be able to chuck your ult and do whatever the fuck you want. The god is all about being able to roam freely without being hard dove. If you are being hard dove, you're going to need the Aegis, you're going to need the beads, you're going to need some peel. You're going to need to tell your team, hey, they're going for me, they're Thor ulting me, they're fucking Rat ulting me, they're, I don't know, Reijin jumping on me. Like, I need you guys to peel. And you can actually turn shit very easily by dropping an ult on yourself. And it does still go a long way. Plus, the ability to knock up and run away is actually a little bit of self-peel. Number 2 on the list. We're going through this one fast. I feel like it might not actually be fast, but it feels fast. I'm talking quick. Number 2 on the list is going to be Opwash. No one really rivals Posh with clear, except for Freya. So because of that, number 2, that alone. As you can see, pressure and clear is really important because it's your own ability to be able to rotate around the map, which is key right now. So when you can control that by having clear, it's awesome for you, and the game is a lot easier on you. Now, Opwash came into the meta and got a lot stronger with a lot of the healing gods being in the meta and being played. In almost every role, there's a healer that gets played at some point, or someone who has healing in their kit that gets played at some point. And in almost every single game, there's at least one person doing some form of healing. You've got Terra who does healing. You've got Erlang Shen. You've got healers actually being played, like Baron. Aphrodite gets played sometimes. Hel gets played sometimes. Chunga gets played sometimes. You got Sylvanas that gets played. There are a lot of gods with healing in their kit that do get played. So while that's a small factor in Opwash getting played, it actually is just really nice and adds into the fact that Opwash is really good. He's got a lot of self-sustain. So if you are being dove, like similar to the Vulcan, where you aren't this crazy mobile god, you can self-sustain. You can heal yourself. You can drop your ult on yourself, which actually does an insane amount of damage. And that's something you have to remember while playing the god. If you're being dove, drop your fucking ult. It stays after death. You can kill people. You can do a lot of damage with just one combo of your shit and your ult. Most people will die. Pretty much all people except for tanks will die, essentially. So, build, oops, that's not what we want. Build's going to be the same as a lot of these other gods. We're grabbing a Book of Thoth. We are grabbing ourselves some CDR boots this time, not pen boots. CDR is going to be key for the kit because of the self-sustain. Grabbing, it's not having full CDR, by the way. It's having a little bit. We're grabbing a Spear of the Magus because of the CDR boots. We're grabbing a Gem of ISO because of your ult and the ability to control and move around and kite people. Then we're going to go ahead and grab our Obshard. And then we're going to finish off the build with a Book of the Dead. Not what I wanted. With a Book of the Dead, not a Book of Thoth. Book of the Dead. So, while you usually want a Book of the Dead earlier, this build will end up being more ideal because you'll have the pressure. You'll usually be shoving it down their throats, and you're just going to be pumping out more damage rather than being dove. If you fall behind or you are being dove still, swap the Book of the Dead and the Ob Shard, switch places. So get the Book of the Dead first, the Ob Shard last. It'll be great. You can essentially put the Book of the Dead where Gem of Iso is and just move the whole build forward. So Book of the Dead, Gem of Iso, Ob Shard, and that'll work too. These items are all kind of interchangeable. I do recommend rushing these three though, obviously. And then the other three can swap around, move them how you want. Clear the lanes. Poke the fuck out of people. Don't be afraid. Hold your ground. Use your ult when being dove. You'll go a long way. You also have objective secure by dropping 5 corpses and blowing them up at like, I don't even know how much damage it does. I forget. It does an insane amount of damage. But just remember that while playing the god and you will do fine. And then number 1 on our list, we mentioned her for a second, is Freya. She just seems to be unstoppable right now, to be completely honest. At least at a ranked level. At a competitive level, you can stop her. She gets played in the ADC role. She gets played in the mid lane. There are strategies to play around having a Freya on the other team, but it's not fun. It's not enjoyable. She's picked and banned almost every single game, if not every single game. So just remember that. You have crazy pressure. You start in the mid lane. You do not do speed start with Freya. Start in the mid lane. Clear on the tower. Like stand on their tower. Don't stand there the whole time. As the creeps start to come up, get there before the creeps get to the tower. Clear the creeps on the tower line. Go steal their fucking red buff. Congratulations, you already have a lead. So, Book of Thoth. Going into some Bootarinos, some pen boots. Grabbing yourself Bancrofts for a little bit of sustain, even though the kit already has a little bit of sustain in it. That can also be a Polynomicon if you're able to go for fighting and killing, which happens a lot more in your rank games. That might be a better position to get Poly instead of Demonic. Instead of having sustain only and a lot of power, you have a little bit less power. You have sustain still, but you have even more burst in your kit. So that might be ideally the way for you to go. I kind of recommend the Poly for your rank games, to be honest. I recommend grabbing Poly over Bancrofts. And then you've got yourself a Demonic, you get yourself a Hasten Vitalis, and you get yourself a Telkine's Ring. Does a fuck ton of damage. I know Freya's thought of as like this mage because you have this burst, but your 2 actually hits really hard. Having the rings is pretty core, and being able to run someone down and kill them in that first burst is going to go miles further than just having this one burst and then done and then waiting for your cooldowns to come back up. This is your ideal build. You will frag on kids. This is your mid lane build. Congratulations. You have pressure. You have kill potential. You have self-peel in your 3. You have an ultimate to keep you safe. She's awesome. She's pretty much, I don't want to say unstoppable, but like borderline unstoppable right now. Play the shit out of Freya in mid lane when you get the opportunity to, and have fun doing it. That is going to be our top 5 mid lane guide for today. I went over that a lot quicker than I thought I would. I don't even know. I'm talking so fucking fast. Let me know what else you guys want in these videos. If I'm missing something, if something's being forgotten, it could happen because I'm going so quickly. If there's something you just added you want, let me know in the comments below. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and I will see you guys in the video later tonight.